Welcome back, guys. So today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new 8Bitdo SN30 2.4 gigahertz wireless controllers for the Super Nintendo. So I do have my Bluetooth versions here that we will be doing a little comparison later. They also released these N30s for the NES that are 2.4 gigahertz. We'll be taking a look at those at a later time, but here they are for the Super Nintendo. All of these between the Super Nintendo and the NES versions are 25 bucks each, and come with the receiver adapter. That way it's just plug and play. You could play it instantly on your Super Nintendo or NES, whichever version, right? If you got the Bluetooth version, the controller was 30 bucks and then the retro receiver was an additional 25. So here's everything that comes in the package standard. Little manual, little fold out manual, really not much of importance here. I mean, I know what the A, B, X, Y, L, and R buttons are, but if you don't, you could refer to this thing. Does tell you about the battery life and all that good stuff. Also, you do get a nice little USB cable for charging and then the receiver. I immediately noticed it's quite a bit shorter than the retro receiver. I actually like that. But then I also noticed there's no sync button and there is no micro USB port for any kind of like firmware update or anything. So I hope they got it right from the get-go. You know what I'm saying? Now the retro receiver, it does have to have that button for syncing, as you can sync other Bluetooth controllers to it. So that's kind of the point with that one. Now, feeling this controller feels great, just like the previous versions, but I have been hearing quite a bit about the PCB being used between the Bluetooth and the 2.4 gigahertz, that there is a pretty big difference where they've made a change and it's actually for the better. But as far as taking a look at the two controllers, they're identical as far as the mold goes, the feel, how everything, responds as far as the feel on my fingers anyway, the buttons and the D-pad and whatnot. Now, I do have a few controllers here. We will be taking a look at them, but I want to open this up to do a quick comparison. So let's go ahead and get that open. There's only 5 screws on the back, little security screws. Now, taking those out, I do want to compare it to the other, so we'll open up the Bluetooth controller as well in a second here. And I have an idea. Maybe I'll swap parts around, so that could be interesting, right? They do make a bunch of different colors in the Bluetooth versions, but this one, the 2.4, they only have 2 colors, so take a look at that. Link will be in the description. So let's go ahead and disassemble this. The first thing I'm noticing here is the battery is quite a bit smaller than what it looks like is included in the Bluetooth version, which is okay. Typically with these 2.4 gigahertz controllers, they use, I believe, 180 milliamp hour battery, and it lasts quite a long time. So not a big deal there. Bluetooth just, has a bigger capacity battery, and physically it's bigger. You'll see that in a second. Now, here's the PCB. The big difference here, okay, it's green. Now, the Bluetooth ones, it's a black board. Now, you see where the D-pad goes, it's a split connection, whereas on the Bluetooth version, it's kind of funky. You'll see that in a moment here, but there you go. Little nice look at the board there. So let's go ahead and get the Bluetooth version opened up and take a look at that. With this clear version, you can see that the board is black and you can see the battery through the back. I'm not sure if they still make this color. I know the Super NT that it was designed after and designed for had been discontinued. I'm not sure with this controller. The controller doesn't look bad. It's kind of neat, but there we go. Go ahead and get this opened up. Take a look at it. You see that battery pack there is quite a bit bigger. Not as tall, but definitely a lot wider. So, larger capacity there. It's not a big deal. Now, my thought was like swapping these around between the shells, and will that battery get in the way? Well, it shouldn't. We'll see that in a second here. So everything else, as far as the pads that they use, are identical between the versions. Yeah, there'll be different color, material that they use, but they're essentially the same. They feel the same as far as the stiffness of the rubber membrane and all that. And as you can see, everything is pretty much identical. And same thing with the mold of the plastic for the actual controller. Now, there is the Bluetooth board. Now, as you see where the D-pad connections are, it is quite a bit different. So the connections there, it's kind of got those loops around the side. So it's making 3 total pads there, really 4 And some people were saying they had issues with diagonals with that controller. Now, we will test that out between both of them because I don't really remember having too much of an issue, but we'll go ahead and check that out in a moment there. So now my thought process is taking a look at these, the compartment for the battery, it's the same between both of them. So we should be able to easily just swap components. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put the new 2.4 gigahertz, the wireless board into the Bluetooth shell, the clear one, make sure everything works, close it up, test it out. Okay, so there we go. We got the component swap between the two. As you see, this clear controller does have the 2.4 gigahertz board in it. So let's go ahead and pop in the receiver into the Super Nintendo and make sure it actually connects. And we'll test out another game in a moment. Star Fox 2 is not really going to be a great test. Now, the fit of the adapter, it's a little snug. Not too loose, not too tight. Just the way I like it. I don't know how you like it, but I feel like the fit is fine, in my opinion. So there we go. Hitting the start button on the controller, it instantly connects to the receiver. So that is nice. Everything seems to be responding. So we're going to go ahead and swap over to another game that the diagonals will kind of matter more and test between this controller and the Bluetooth. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we got the controller connected, the SD2 SNES Pro flash cart popped in. Gonna get both of the 2.4 gigahertz controllers synced up, make sure they both feel fine here. But let's go ahead and play Street Fighter 2 Turbo, I guess. That'll be a pretty good test. See if we could do those Hadokis and those dragon punches and, you know, hurricane kicks, all that kind of stuff. See how everything responds here. But so far the buttons, everything's feeling fine. I mean, can you say, well, wait, you swapped the shell around? It's not really going to matter. But that's why I plugged in the other one so I could test both of them. But there we go. Getting some stuff going on in here. Little dragon punch action. Everything seems to be feeling fine, responding very well. Not really feeling any kind of latency or anything as far as input lag goes. It's feeling pretty solid to me. I always thought the Bluetooth one felt solid as well. Never had too much of an issue with that. But let's go ahead and try the second player controller, the other 2.4 gigahertz that is stock. Didn't swap any of the buttons or anything around, but here we go. You know, there's going to be a degree of error as far as doing button presses, but yeah, I'm able to do things mostly what I'm wanting to do. I'm not a pro, but you know, using this D-pad, yeah, I could do those dragon punches, those hurricane kicks, and those fireballs just fine. I know there's a lot of other games that require diagonals and whatnot, but I just wanted to test this game out and make sure things worked fine, you know. So there's that. I'm gonna go ahead and swap over to the Bluetooth controllers and see how those feel in comparison. Now that I've been using these for a bit, even while not recording, I was testing them out. But yeah, I'm not having too much of an issue doing the moves, so D-pad feels fine. Let's switch to the Bluetooth. So here we go. I got both Bluetooth controllers plugged in and ready to go. I just wanted to test this out because using that 2.4 gigahertz controller all day today, I wanted to see if I'm going to perceive any major difference, especially with the D-pad. You know, doing those diagonals, jumping forward, jumping backward, doing the special moves with dragon punches and whatnot. Input latency, to me, the Bluetooth controller feels fine. You know, using both of them that I have set up here, it seems fairly consistent with doing the moves that I want to do. Yeah, not 100% am I pulling off what I want to do, but that's typical for me in this game with a controller, with a standard D-pad. But yeah, the Bluetooth controller feels fine to me. I'm not really noticing any major difference between this and the 2.4 gigahertz. Now, yeah, the 2.4 gigahertz is going to be touted to have better input latency, but with my setup here, it doesn't really seem too major of a difference, so I'm not really bothered by it. And I just wanted to do this comparison, kind of talking about the feel of everything, because I know there's going to be people out there who already have the Bluetooth controllers and they use them possibly religiously on their Super Nintendo or Super NT, and they're curious if, you know, they should plunk down the money to get that 2.4 gigahertz controller. And for me, I don't necessarily see a reason to, unless you're having a huge issue with the diagonals on the controller you already have. Because yeah, there is that improvement with these new versions, the 2.4. Now, as you see here, I am taking apart the white Bluetooth controller because I started to wonder, like, hey, this controller came out after the clear one. I wonder if the board is the same because it feels just fine to me. And I was just wondering, is there a coincidence? Is it the black board? Is it the green board? But I just wanted to take a look, and you'll see in a second here that it is in fact the same black board. Everything with it is identical. So I just hope this video helped with giving you a better idea on what kind of decision to make if you're in the market for these kind of controllers, because the 2.4 gigahertz definitely has its appeal being so cheap for a complete package if you're only using it on the Super Nintendo or Super NT. Now, the Bluetooth version of the SN30, the standard Super Nintendo controller, yeah, it's going to be more versatile. You can use it on more things. And then that retro receiver, the Bluetooth retro receiver, you can sync other controllers to it. So it's kind of a little bit of a different market there. I like to have dedicated controllers, so those 2.4 gigahertz for me, those are going to be standard for what I use. Now, I'm looking forward to checking out the 2.4 NES controllers. Those are supposed to come out alongside the NT Mini Noir, and that got delayed, but we did get the 2.4 gigahertz controllers, and I'm very excited to check those out. So stay tuned for that. We may just test that in the stream, I don't know. But hey, really do appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Take a look, links in the description for this controller. And with that said, I will catch y'all next time. Peace out, bye-bye, and boom. Bye.